All right, I am Dan Goff, the Arts and Entertainment Editor, and I'm here with members of the student group Inning. To start, I'm just going to pass this around and we can do introductions. Tell me your name, year, and what you do in the band.
I'm Marshall. I play the bass guitar, and I'm third year.
My name's Ever. I play the guitar, and I'm a third year as well.
I'm Evan. I play guitar and sing, and I'm a third year.
And we're missing one member, right? Um,
Tyler, he's a fourth year, and he plays drums.
all right, so just to get started, can you all describe your personal musical histories? Like, what did each of you do before Inning? You can just, if one of you has an answer in mind, you can go first, or you can just pass it.
I played jazz band in high school, and we played overseas over in Italy, and so we participated in things like the International Jazz Festival. But my background is not one of like conservator music, so I never learned how to play music. It was more by ear and improvisation, things like that.
Yeah, so back home when I was growing up, I would always play in the local church group, and that's kind of like my musical history.
I've been playing music since I was in high school. I started piano when I was 14 and played in some bands as a drummer for a while I was in high school and in college. And I just recently started producing my own producing songs for Inning and writing my own songs on guitar and picking that up.
So you've been writing all the music for Inning, and you're essentially its founder. Can you talk a little about the creation of the band?
Sure. I was writing songs, and over the summer, I wanted to put those songs kind of into like one, kind of have it more focused under like one band name, and kind of start putting that out. Um, so I was writing the songs in my room, and last semester I got some people around at UVA to kind of bring that into a live setting. And then I met Ever and Marshall through work, and then our drummer Tyler, who's in here. We've been friends since we were 6 years old, but never ever played music until a few months ago together.
Can you guys tell me a little about Inning's experience so far in Charlottesville? Like, where have you played so far? Who would you say is your primary audience? Just stuff like that.
We've been playing some house shows here, and we've been putting together house shows too, and we played the Tea Bazaar. And as for our audience, and we played the Bridge. Yeah, we played the Bridge last weekend, and it's our audience in Charlottesville is it started out just as kind of our friends, but it's growing now into people who are kind of like friends of friends that are starting to take interest in us.
But definitely like a student group for students as of now. But you guys have a Spotify presence too. You recently had a track featured on a Spotify playlist. Can you tell me a little about that?
Sure. I recently in March, so about a month ago, I put out our first record. It's an EP called the DC Party Machine EP. I put it online and I sent it to some people, and that ended up getting us on a Spotify playlist called Fresh Finds, which kind of showcases emerging artists. And that was really crazy for us because it's interesting how songs get on Spotify playlists. It's largely like algorithm based. So if songs perform well on other people's playlists, it gets sent to Spotify, and then a curator will decide like whether this should go on like their massively popular Spotify playlist. So that was really crazy for us.
So, the most recent gig you played was last Friday at 420, and then I guess this upcoming Friday is Springfest, right? That's your next show at Springfest. How did you land that gig? How did that happen?
There was an application, and you applied to play at Springfest, and I applied, and they accepted us. Yeah.
Mostly this person's interest. Um, who are some of the other bands you'll be playing with, and just more of a jumping off point from there, what experiences, if any, have you had with other student musicians in Charlottesville?
I know Sorority Boy will be there. I know Alice Clare will be there too. I think, yeah. And Soju Blue will be there, and I'm excited to see them. So, and with other experience with other musicians, um, we recently played a show at the Bridge, and we played with this group called Naomi Alligator, um, which is kind of like pretty, like nice acoustic music. But other than that, there's not too many other student bands that we've played with so far.
I know this is kind of an obnoxious question, but since you are a pretty new band, I think it's kind of necessary for someone who might not necessarily know you. How would you guys describe the music of Inning? And I'm just going to pass it around on this so everyone can get a chance to give their thoughts.
Well, I think the initial DC Party Machine EP, I would consider it to be like dream pop, something like this. So a bit more like ethereal indie or something like this. But Evan came up with some cool songs that are more bordering on like a bit punkier. Some songs are a bit more funky. So we're really diversifying our sound. But I think of the music that's published so far, I would say dream pop.
Yeah, I usually describe it as indie rock because like I don't really know how to classify it, but yeah, dream pop is also one way to describe it. And as Marshall said, we do diversify our sound. It's not just like indie rock. It's not just dream pop. But we do have funk, maybe a little bit of rock in there and stuff like that. So we're just not like one concrete sound. We kind of hit a lot of different genres.
Yeah, because that's interesting because I've always liked albums that kind of have one specific sound to that album, and I wanted to do that with the DC Party Machine EP. So those 5 songs are like kind of like dream poppy, like it's like indie rock. So it's nice. It's really nice, which is what I like about it. But there's some more songs that I've been writing that have kind of been like a little dirtier. The songs off the DC Party Machine EP are kind of clean and polished, but I've had fun just hitting like a different kind of like a different kind of note and a different kind of feeling.
So use the word dirtier, which is an interesting word choice. With that being said, who would you say are some of your biggest musical influences? I mean, if you're experimenting with sound so much, I can guess that they vary a lot, but who are some of the names that come to mind?
Names that come to mind lyrically, I like the National a lot. I think they're a band that just has like really honest and just kind of like they kind of sing an everyday talk, which was like when I started listening to them about like 5 years ago, that was so new to me. I thought you had to be really complicated about lyrics and it had to be really emotional. And then music wise, I like how Beach House can really create a mood. And then with some newer stuff, I've been listening to a lot of classical, and I've also been listening to it's kind of different. This band Parquet Courts, and they're kind of where like the dirtier side comes to it.
You guys have anything to add on that? Like any personal influences? All right.
We haven't contributed yet so much to the creative process other than the way we interpret the songs live, because something that we're very adamant about is making the listening experience of on Spotify or if you have a physical copy different than the live experience. I feel like we're a bit more energetic live, and some of that it comes from when we jam together during our practices. But in terms of coming together as a band and making a song, we haven't really had the time yet, because as soon as we formed, we were already touring and we had a full schedule. So it's not like we haven't had so much time to jam it out and make music all together.
And that's pretty unusual for a band to form and then immediately have such an intense schedule. And that's largely you're doing, right? You've done a lot of scheduling and publicity and things like that for your band. Do you think that's what you can mostly attribute the success to so far? Because you have had a lot of success for a band that hasn't existed very long.
Yeah, and I think I was in bands before this, and it never occurred to me, just like the publicity side of it. And that's something that just sending your music out to, it kind of like sending out to people kind of in a genre of, if you like a band and they're featured by like this blogger, like send it to that blogger. And I think that's kind of how Inning got on that Spotify playlist. And I think it's also super important.
Um, what's the story behind the name Inning? Is there?
Yeah, there's a few things. I lived when I was in high school. I studied abroad in Germany, and that's kind of where music took on like a different meaning for me. Where I guess because of like not really having like close like interactions with the people around me because everyone's I spoke German, but you can't really have like deeper connections with people. I think, and the music that I was listening to, I was listening to a lot of the National. I was listening to this band called La Dispute that I was are also like they're like really good lyrically, and their album Wildlife is like it's a concept album, and um, that was just so new to me. So it's kind of a tribute to that, where I felt like Inning was very lyrically driven. It's like it's one of my favorite parts about writing music is like getting good lyrics in there. I liked how it sounded. I liked how the word looks. I like how the I is capital and the G. There's kind of a balance in that. So there's a few reasons, but it's a nice name.
The aesthetic of the word itself. That's interesting. But La Dispute, yeah, that's definitely a band that I would describe as dirtier, maybe. Um, so, for students who may not know the band yet, if you guys had to boil down what makes Inning special or what makes it notable in a few words or a few sentences, what would you want people to know if they've never heard of it? Take your time on that. I know it's kind of a loaded question, and anyone can answer.
I think we should all answer, but at least for me, it's the fact that everything feels very organic. We just meet up on Sundays, we play, we rehearse, we have a little bit of fun and jam a little bit. And when we go play, at least for me personally, it's that same feeling of just I pretend as if we're in the practice room. None of the audience is even there for me in my mind, and I'm just playing with my friends, and that's I feel like that's what makes it feels genuine to me. I hope that transmits over to the crowd. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. Especially like when I play with these guys, it's just like something really natural to me. I enjoy it. It's not like it's being forced or anything like that. And I'd like to tell people that when we play, it's like pretty lively, energetic. We're not there to just like, for them to sit down and just like listen, but for them to be kind of like get in touch with the music and stuff, to feel it too. And I think that's what like kind of attracts the crowd when we play.
It's nice, and I like the lyrics. I think are good, and I think in our 5 song EP, there's kind of a song for everybody in that.
Great. Well, that's all I had for you guys. Just wanted to get you in here in the office so we could learn a little more about Inning. I appreciate you all coming in.
Thank you.